What's up, everybody? I haven't uploaded to this channel for probably a year. I don't know, I had a lot of writing that I wanted to do instead of doing videos, and I was just like, I'll just focus on that. And once the content is content of my book, and also I wrote a screenplay. I know, how daring, how bold, how brave. How stunning. Bruh. I can juggle around 2 to 3 projects at once, but I can only really truly focus on 2 at a time, so I just told myself I'm gonna put this channel on hold. But then Corona happened.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out.
No, I'm not drinking Corona, okay? First of all, it tastes like piss. Sorry, I just said it. But anyway, quarantine happened. How are you doing with quarantine? How's everybody doing? Is everybody having a great time? Look, I have a great book here with me. This my parents gave this to me.
Oh my dude, you just got pranked.
1,000 Places to see before you die. Well, I'm not really part of the risk group, so I don't think I'm gonna die. I also don't think I'm gonna go anywhere anytime soon.
All around me are
Oh god, oh my god, freedom. So during my Corona quarantine time, I have seen this little show called Outlander. Outlander is a historical drama television series based on the novel series of the same name by Diana Gabaldon. Gabaldon? I have no idea. It's about this chick, Claire, who lives in the 40s. It's just after the Second World War. The Allies just beat the Germans to the punch, and everybody's happy, you know, everybody's going back to normal life, and Claire finally reunited with her husband that she loves so much. But we're gonna talk about their marriage and her husband specifically and their relationship, because it's like, I don't know what the author was drinking when she was writing this, or what kind of relationship she has with her own husband, but oh boy, is this good. Okay, so Claire reunites with her husband, and blah 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 blah, they go to Scotland, blah 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 blah, they have sex, they have a lot of sex. They have a lot of sex, okay? They're in Scotland, and then she goes to these fancy magical rocks, and she's picking some flowers, and all of a sudden she touches the stone and time travel happens, and she goes back to Scotland in the 18th century, and she has to survive, and shit happens, and oh my god, a lot of rape that happens in the show. Oh my god, we're gonna talk about that as well, because it's fucking insane. But yeah, that's basically what this show is about. So there's a lot of self-narration in the show. Claire narrates a lot of things by herself.
Like the moment I'd realized I'd never owned a vase. That I'd never lived in any place long enough to justify having such a simple thing. And how at that moment, I wanted nothing so much in all the world as to have a vase of my very own. Uncle Lamb was an archaeologist, so I'd spent the balance of my formative years traipsing through dusty ruins and various excavations throughout the world. I'd learned to dig latrines and boil water, and do a number of other things not suitable for a young lady of gentle birth.
Uncle.
Ah, yes. Very sorry.
If I was going to survive, I needed to acclimatize myself as quickly as possible. I knew where I was, but when? From the clothes and weapons alone, I knew it was most likely the 18th century, 1743. Scotland is definitely part of Great Britain.
You just showed us the year. Why are you telling us? Like, why did you just have to read that year aloud? Like, we're not stupid. We just saw it. We know what year it is. Like, you don't have to elaborate on that. Just, why was that necessary?
Different.
I just don't understand.
Simple
Like, can
joy,
someone please explain this to me?
unencumbered by the trauma of war or the exhaustion
oh.
of its end.
Sorry, I
The Mackenzies were
there's
simply
more.
glad to see one another. First, I thought Mrs. Fitz's intervention would disrupt my plans. But then I realized that with her at my side as a proper escort, the more unconscious clansmen tonight, the better. I'd been a part of for 6 long years, and somehow it felt liberating.
Oh my god, we get it, Claire. Can someone just tell her to stop?
This person just sexually harassed me.
And a good filmmaker knows that you can show instead of tell. So if you use self-narration in a cinematic medium, it can kind of backfire and be annoying because you're not supposed to tell us what we're supposed to feel. You're supposed to show us. And self-narration can definitely work. For example,
is it really happening? F Society's finally over. The recent glitch and the otherwise neat reality I created over the years. I'll never slip up like that again. I'm gonna be more normal now. Maybe Shayla could even be my girlfriend.
You wake up at C-Town, SFO, LAX. You wake up at O'Hare, Dallas Fort Worth, BWI.
both of these characters in both of these shows, oh, actually, it's a show and a movie, both of them are unreliable narrators. So because they're unreliable narrators, we kind of need to know what's happening inside their head. That's what makes everything more interesting. Because what they say is very much different from what their reality actually is. But it's not very interesting to know what Claire is thinking, honestly.
I'd never owned a vase.
Nobody cares! Nobody cares!
Point number 2, motivation. Specifically, character motivation. Our main character, or the main character of Outlander, is Claire. In the beginning, Claire's character motivation was actually quite clear to me. She traveled back in time, and then the whole time she was trying to get back to present day, back to her husband Frank. And that was pretty clear until it wasn't. I enjoyed the first 8 episodes of the show. I think it has 16 episodes altogether. And the first 8 episodes were mostly just fine. You know, they're not amazing, but they were fine. They were fine, okay? Then we got to episode 8. And suddenly in episode 8, Claire decides that she's not gonna go back to her husband Frank. So she completely abandons her original character motivation and what she has to do. And she realizes she wants to be with Jamie. To just quickly go back, Jamie is Claire's second character motivation, basically. Her first character motivation is Frank. And then when she meets Jamie, she switches to her second character motivation, which is Jamie. And Jamie is this hot Scottish dude she met in the very first episode. He got hurt and she helped him out, patched him up like a good doctor. And he has been sticking around her basically ever since. And in episode 7, they basically get married. And in episode 8, she decides to leave her husband Frank for Jamie. And before I go on, I just want to briefly mention Frank. Everything that we learn about Frank suggests that he's actually a good husband. And honestly, if I was married to Frank, I would be happy. He seems like a good guy. But in the author's view, once Claire travels back in time, Frank suddenly becomes Captain Randall, who is the villain of the show.
fine?
A few moments later.
Who are you?
My husband's expecting me.
Why the fuck you lying?
But yeah, so Frank, who is actually the good guy, like one of the good guys, suddenly becomes a bad guy. But it's, you know, you have to understand, it's not Frank, it's Jack Randall. He's just played by the same actor that plays Frank. Let's talk about the rape in the show, because, oh boy, is there a lot of rape. I actually would like to introduce you to the rape count at this point, because there is a lot of rape. The main character is surrounded by rape. It's the first episode, and she almost gets raped.
The language of a whore. I choose the whore.
Then she almost gets raped when she's having sex with her new husband.
Get up.
And then she almost gets raped when she gets kidnapped by her husband lookalike, Jack Randall again.
The lady has claws. Are they sharp?
But she's saved by her new husband.
I'll thank you to take your hands off my wife.
God damn!
See what? Do you see where I'm going with this? Because it's really confusing. And then Jamie gets raped at some point, and his sister was also raped. By Jack Randall. I feel like everybody was at some point either raped by Jack Randall, who, by the way, is played by the same character that Claire's husband is played by. Do you see what I'm talking about? Every character that even briefly walks by the main character is just gets raped, okay? Just raped. You're gonna get raped. You're gonna get raped. No, please, no. No, thank you. I do not want that. Thank you. There's a lot of rape in the show, and it's really confusing, especially if you think about the fact that Claire's husband is played by the same actor that also plays the villain of the show. So that's why I'm kind of confused, Miss Diana Gabaldon. That sounds kind of fucked up. Let's talk about the sex scenes in this show. Specifically the wedding scene. So Claire gets into some trouble, and so the Scots basically come up with this plan that if we marry her to one of ours, we don't have to give her to Jack Randall. So they want to marry her to Jamie, who obviously agrees. And which, look, nobody's surprised. Like, everybody knew that it's gonna happen from episode 1, you know? That's why I watched the show. That's why everybody else watched the show. But anyway, that's what happens. So they marry her off to Jamie so she doesn't go to Jack Randall, which, by the way, with the whole husband thing going on, it's super confusing. And they have sex. And there are a few things that happen. The first one is when they're about to go, you know, do the dirty deed or whatever, Claire has an orgasm, right? And they basically have sex for like 2 minutes, and suddenly she orgasms. And I'm just like, bitch, I had sex a few times in my life. First of all, lads, I'm gonna teach you something very interesting and important that you should know. Most women can't orgasm from penetration alone. Like, 90% of women can't do that. Maybe you were with someone who is in this 10%, but you know, most of us chicks can't do that. Like, when that happened, I was like, another unrealistic depiction of real sex by the media. And look. I'm not even gonna start how Hollywood and just media in general ruined my relationships and sex life. I'm not even gonna touch that because we would be here for probably a few more hours, and I would have to call my therapist, and I would probably start crying a few times, and at some point I would have to stop talking about my ex, and nobody wants that, okay? Not even my therapist, especially not my therapist. Bruh. But oh my god, I was just so livid when I experienced that a little piece of media again, because isn't it so engraved to us that women just have orgasms like this, and you know, it definitely doesn't take longer than 20 minutes for a woman to have an orgasm or for a man to have an orgasm. It's just like happens in 2 minutes and they're just done, you know?
This is so sad. Alexa, please. Alexa.
Okay, this is cringy. I don't know. I don't like it. I know that they can't show how they are having sex for 20 minutes because then half of the episode would just have to be them having sex. I wouldn't actually mind that. Like Netflix, if you are gonna make a show where you're gonna depict sex in a realistic way and it's gonna take the characters 20 minutes to have sex, I'm down. Bitch, I'm down. Please, hit me up. I'll write you a script right now. Seriously, I am so serious. I'm even more serious about it than most guys are with my orgasms. So, oh my god. We haven't even talked about the last episode. I couldn't watch the last episode. Like, I couldn't physically watch the last episode of this show because, oh my god. I know that being raped, it must be a terrible experience. I know that. But watching 50 minutes where someone is reliving their rape over and over again is just terrible. It's terrible, okay? I hated it. I got it the first time that Jamie had a bad time. The second time I was like, okay, I'm sure this was terrible, being raped by Jack Randall, who is played by the same actor who plays Claire's husband, who is now screwing with her new husband, which is definitely not confusing, you know, definitely not a weird life triangle. Oh, and by the way, he is gay, you know. So, another cliche, the bad guy is always gay. Basically what I wanted to say, that everybody who's probably watching this show is, yeah, it's either they're either Scottish or they're horny, probably female. You know what? I'm gonna stop hating on this show because you know what? Sometimes life is hard. Okay, we all know that by now. Life is hard, especially right now. And sometimes you just need to, you know, keep going even though it's garbage. But then you touch a magical stone and you go back in time and you meet some sexy ginger twink. And that's where your life changes. You know what? I think I should be more proactive. I should go touch some stones. Gonna go do that now. I'm gonna go touch some stones. Because why not? Bye.